Welcome back to Women Who Lead on WJR, sponsored by the University of Michigan Health Von Voigtlander Women's Hospital. Once again, Ann Thomas.
You are listening to Women Who Lead, and I want you to meet Kate Milligan. Kate is the founder of One Girl Revolution, a nonprofit organization dedicated to highlighting the stories of everyday women and girls who are changing the world through their lives. Kate, welcome to Women Who Lead.
And thank you so much for having me.
Tell our listeners about One Girl Revolution. What is it about, and how did it get started?
Yeah, as you mentioned, One Girl Revolution is a nonprofit multimedia enterprise that is dedicated to highlighting the stories of world-changing women and girls across the country, across America. And I founded it because my background's in PR and media, and after lived in Washington, D.C. for multiple years, I now live in the city of Detroit. But living and working in Washington, D.C., I started realizing that women's voices and their stories weren't being told in the media. And when they were, it was often politicized or divisive. And I really wanted to create a space for women and girls who are doing incredible things, changing the world every single day, making history every single day, that they would be able to share their own stories in hopes that we can inspire people, not just women and girls, but people around the world to be the change that they want to see in the world.
Tell us about some of the inspiring people that you have met through this nonprofit.
There are so many, Anne. We have over 200 episodes of our podcast because we utilize different mediums, right? Different media outlets to highlight these stories. So we have the One Girl Revolution podcast, and then we have 2 Emmy-nominated documentaries on YouTube. And so we utilize visual media, but then also the podcast. And through this whole journey, I've met so many incredible women and girls, everything from 5-year-old little Lily that makes coloring books for children in hospitals, or 16-year-old Ruby Kate Chitsey, who runs a nonprofit in Harrison, Arkansas called 3 Wishes for Ruby's Residents. And she grants wishes to elderly people in senior living facilities and is encouraging kids and people around the world to do the same, to reach out to this population of elderly people that are so often forgotten about in our culture and in our world. Or Jenny DePaul, who is a stay-at-home mom and lives in New Jersey, and every night she puts her kids to bed and goes out to the streets of New York City to serve those experiencing homelessness. And then there's Miss Catherine, who is based in New Mexico, and she's a retiree, and she started recognizing the lack of resources for African-American mothers, and she created an organization called Sister Friends, where they build community around new mothers and their babies to lower the infant and maternal mortality rates. It's absolutely incredible, and every single story that I've come in contact with, every single woman or girl that I've interviewed has led to another story, and it just continues to grow and evolve, and I can't wait to see where we go from here.
What kind of reaction have you gotten from all of these different interviews, from people that have listened and have been touched by these incredible stories?
Every single person that listens to it, or everyone who comes in contact with One Girl Revolution, they talk about how their eyes are opened, right? And that's the whole mission for me, is I want us to not only see these stories and be inspired by them, but I hope that our eyes are opened and we see opportunities for each and every one of us to be the change that we want to see in the world. And, our motto is every woman has a voice, every woman has a story, every woman has the power to change the world through her life. Every woman is a One Girl Revolution. But my hope is that every single person sees this and says, you know what, I might not have money, but I can do something in my own community. I can donate my time or my talent, right? You're a graphic designer and you can make a difference in the world. And so every person that's listened to the podcast or come in contact with our documentaries or anything that we're doing online, they just talk about how their eyes are opened to things that they didn't know in the world, and individuals that are making a difference that they didn't even know existed, or problems in our world that they didn't even know existed. And they want to do something to be the change that they want to see in the world, which is amazing.
It's so interesting, Kate Bryan Milligan, that you decided to start something like this. Are there people in your life that have touched you, that kind of inspired you to do this, to want to make a difference and encourage change in the world?
So many people, and I always ask this question on our podcast, who is a one-girl revolution in your life? Because I'm always interested in not just the story, not just the woman or the girl that we're highlighting, but also we know from our own lives that it really takes a community. It takes a community, a family, to raise up these stories and raise up these individuals. And so my own story, I think about my great-grandmother and being a little girl and hearing her stories and just being so blown away by all the things that she accomplished. And it was a different time than it is today, but just being a little girl and just soaking up those stories and wanting to make a difference in the world in so many different ways. And then, I think about my grandparents, but my own mom, Mary Cullen Bryan, she was a one-girl revolution to me. She's the OG, as the kids say, the original. And she was a woman before her time, and she did so many incredible things in the world and left such a mark on our world. And she really inspired me and told me from a very young age that I could do anything that I wanted, that I could accomplish anything that I wanted. And she always supported me even in my crazy adventures of, founding something like this. Some people thought I was crazy to just start something like this from scratch, but she knew that it was possible, and I see every single day that it's possible, and it continues to grow and evolve. And so, I would say that my mom really inspired me and inspired One Girl Revolution.
What are some of the themes that come up over and over again for you when you're doing these interviews?
There are so many different themes. Obviously, like survivor is a word that comes to mind, and it doesn't just necessarily mean somebody who survived an assault or an attack or abuse. There definitely are those stories, but women are so resilient, and I hear these stories of women who have been through hell and back. And sitting in the city of Detroit right now, I think about Detroit's motto that there is always hope and it will rise from the ashes. And I see that in each and every one of the women and girls that we interview, that there is this resilience, that there's this survivorship. But we cover everything from homelessness to assault, like I mentioned, abuse. There are definitely those stories, but women who have come through hell and back and are helping other people. And, I talked about the elderly communities, forgotten about populations. We've done a lot on incarceration. Women and girls are the fastest growing population in jail and prison, and we don't often hear about that in the world. And so we've done a lot. We have a documentary called The Girl Inside on YouTube, which we kind of delve into that topic, who these people are, who these women are. And then we've done a whole documentary or a whole podcast series on incarceration and women. And so there are so many different topics that we highlight, but there's this connecting thread to me. There's a connection between each and every one of the stories. Of course, women and girls, being a woman connects us in this sisterhood, which is really beautiful. But I would say, women who have risen from the ashes, and survivors who have survived so many different things, hardships in their life, and it looks different for every single person. And I think that we all have those stories. Sometimes life can be great and beautiful, but it also can be difficult and hard, and we experience so many difficult things in life. Even loss is one of those things, but that we can rise above it and help other people.
Well, and it has to be so encouraging for people to listen to these podcasts and see how people have risen out of terrible trauma and tragedy and been able to survive and feel good again.
Yes. Well, and it's that whole dichotomy between, being the victim or the victor, right? I believe that we have choices, and every single day we choose how we want to live our life. And some things we can't control, of course. Sometimes we can't control something that happens to us, but we do have the power to choose how we live our lives and how we react to the things that come on our path. And so it is so inspiring to people when they listen to these stories. I'm inspired by every single person that I've talked to, and they have helped me to see different aspects of my life or different things that I've experienced in a new way, which is kind of the unexpected thing for me. I never, I guess, imagined that these stories and that One Girl Revolution would impact my life every single day in the way that it has. I know that it's also not only impacting my life, but every person that comes in contact with it, that it's impacting theirs and helping them to see the power that they have to change the world and change their lives.
Kate Bryan Milligan, founder of One Girl Revolution, thank you for chatting with us today. What a great thing you are doing.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate your love and support of One Girl Revolution.
Absolutely.